Why, hello, Triwizard champions and Death Eaters alike. I know, guys, it has been quite some time since we've sat down here and discussed one of the most beloved franchises in literature and film, and that, of course, is Harry Potter. And it's been 2 years since we've done the last installment, so welcome everybody if you are new here or if you are returning to the Harry Potter redo series. And we are finally, after so much waiting, because we had to wait until the illustrated edition came out so we can look at that beautiful book as well, we're finally moving on to the 4th installment in the Harry Potter series, which is also the halfway mark, if you will, of course, because it is one of 7 books, and that, of course, is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So, one of the few things that we all figured when we were Harry Potter fans picking up this book for the first time, after reading and very much enjoying the first 3 installments, my goodness, this book is massive. Yeah, it's a real chunker of a book, but my god, it is such a great and entertaining read. The page length doesn't matter because we Harry Potter fans believe that the longer the book, the more time we have spending time with Harry, Ron, Hermione, and of course all the other side characters that we love. We just love spending time with them, so the more pages, the better. But one of the few things about this book that is very different is we've gotten 3 stories. While the stories have involved different things with a little bit of similarities, we now get something that truly shakes up the wizarding world. The wizarding world decides to do the Triwizard Tournament, in which 3 wizarding schools get together and compete in a series of events to determine who is the champion wizard, but more importantly, give kids the efforts to really get to know each other and cooperate in the magical world, especially because of the fact that dark times are lingering somewhere in the background. So Harry, Ron, and Hermione are very excited to welcome the new students from these schools, but more importantly, see how the tournament is decided. And it turns out that something strange happens when the Goblet of Fire, which is used to determine the 3 champions of the 3 schools, a 4th name is spewed out of the Goblet of Fire, and it is Harry Potter's. He doesn't know how it got there. He doesn't know why it's there. Well, let's face it, to a certain extent, he kind of has an understanding as to possibly why, but they allow him to compete. So Harry is now somewhat fighting for his life, and at the same time, fighting to keep his grades up with so much going on in the Triwizard Tournament and school, and of course, dealing with new things like more involvement with girls. He is just doing everything that he possibly could, but then, of course, we get to the end, and it was something that we didn't really know when we were going to get it, but considering that this is sort of the climax of the entire story, and then it just takes a massive turn, the Dark Lord, he who must not be named, who we can now just say Lord Voldemort, is back. Because the Triwizard Tournament and all the events that revolved around it, there was a plot hatching by the dark followers of the Dark Lord to bring Harry Potter into their clutches, to use him to resurrect Voldemort, and they do succeed. So we finally get Voldemort at the end of this book in a very climactic ending of this story with a major taste of things to come, and all we can do is just prepare and wait on bated breath for the 5th installment in the Harry Potter series. So, right off the bat, I am going to say the following. This has always been my least favorite book in the series. Now, I say that because I don't hate it. It is hard for me to truly despise any Harry Potter book, but it was pretty much because of the fact that all the things that I loved about Harry Potter in the first 3 installments, we didn't really get that in the 4th one. But to a certain extent, to J.K. Rowling's credit, we had to make a little bit of a change because there were so many consistencies, and to really give us a great story, you have to turn it on its head. You have to give us something new and exciting, and you have to give Harry Potter different challenges as opposed to just dealing with tests and playing Quidditch. I mean, I love Quidditch. I would have loved to see more Quidditch. I mean, we do get the Quidditch World Cup at the very beginning, which is fun, but we don't get too much of it, and I just love a good Quidditch match. But we also have new characters like Cedric Diggory. We also have the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, Professor Alistair Mad-Eye Moody. We also get a very conniving character in Rita Skeeter, who is a typical tabloid-like reporter who is really trying to get rumors spread and just get readers for her tabloid columns by spewing lies and twisted truths about Harry Potter. And when it comes to media in the wizarding world, it is no different to the media that we have in our current world. But we also have other characters like the other Triwizard champions. Besides Cedric Diggory, we also have Fleur Delacour, and we also have Victor Crumb, and we also really see the relationship of Harry, Ron, and Hermione truly grow. We deal with things like jealousy, we deal with things like love, and we deal with things like loss, which is very, very powerful, because one of the few interesting things that starts to happen at this point moving forward is J.K. Rowling kills off characters. Are they major? Are they minor? Well, if you've read the book, you know the answer. If you've seen the movie, of course you know the answer, but I don't want to give it away if you haven't picked up these books. But I will probably give a little bit of a spoiler through the film review, because let's face it, if you haven't watched these movies or read these books yet, I really don't know what to say to you. You probably just don't care, and that is fine. But I will say, after the reread, I definitely found myself enjoying it a lot more. I enjoyed all of the plot points, and also, there's another thing in this book that does sort of drag it down, but I think it's more important to review that part of this book when we actually talk about the film counterpart. So before we get into that, let's take a look at the beautiful illustrated edition as well as the DVD box set. So first and foremost, everybody, welcome to my living room. We are finally about to take a look at this amazing illustrated edition that we have been waiting for ever so much. When we first heard that they were finally bringing it to us, we all got very excited, but one of the few things that was missing was the cover. But when we all saw the cover, I think we got even more excited. But then came the big surprise as we were all waiting for it to come in the mail, and that was the fact that it really was not so thick as we all anticipated. Like, we literally had shelf space reserved for it. But I actually brought out the last book, which is The Prisoner of Azkaban, and when you actually take a look at them side by side and actually take a look at the thickness, it's really not that much. So we actually got a lot more shelf space than we actually thought we were going to have. But the real question was, how did it happen? Well, the answer is they actually shrunk the text. So it's a lot easier to put more words on the page, which means it's a lot easier to give us less pages. But one of the other things that I'm not too thrilled about is the fact that we also don't really get as many illustrations that we did in the last 3 books. But that's also due to the fact that at this point in time, we're getting really big stories with lots of stuff to read about. But first of all, let's take a look at the beautiful cover. I love that we're taking a look at the Triwizard Tournament. We've got Harry facing the Hungarian Horntail. As always, when we flip it over, there is the rest of the illustration, so you get the back of the dragon, and of course, as always, there is a beautiful little blurb in the back that is J.K. Rowling thanking Jim Kay for the hard work that he does. I also love that we went with another color scheme. We've got a beautiful orange, and on the inside, even though I wish that we were going to get some rainbow effects here, we got the color blue, and it is a beautiful shade of blue, along with the bookmark that always comes along with the book, which is right over here in the spine. When you do get to illustrations, they're absolutely stunning. The one of the Hogwarts Express is absolutely wonderful. I also have said this so many times, when they create these specific illustrated editions, we see the different shades of colors of the words, as the pages are never quite the same in regards to every single one, and we also have little surprises, like here's a picture of the Blasted and Scroot. And another thing that we actually got that was new was the fact that all the chapter intros have this beautiful border around it, and they all seem to have different colors as well. But there are just so many nice little treasures here, like here is a scene with the Chinese fireball, and there were even some big surprises that actually happened in the book. I think that my favorite illustration comes at the end, and of course here's a beautiful splash page of the Death Eaters, but the one thing that really surprised me, and I'm really hoping that I can find it for you guys, because it actually scared me when it first happened, and it was this page right here, where I see Voldemort's face just right in front of me, and wow, this scared me half to death. But then when I took a good look at it, I was like, this is the coolest thing that I ever saw, and I'm really glad that they gave us these little surprises. But again, all of these changes that they made to the new book, definitely positive, and a lot more positive than negative. It's great to know that they are working smarter in regards to taking these really gigantic books and condensing them for the sake of shelf space and still giving us the magic that we absolutely love in the Harry Potter story. So let's take a look at the DVD box set for the film. So now we're back in my favorite room of the house, my beautiful walk-in storage closet, to where I usually record my Funko Pop updates, so we can take a look at the DVD box set for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire Ultimate Edition. And I actually had to clean a whole pile of comic books out of the way. As you can see, guys, I have said on Twitter that I am reading The Death and Return of Superman, so I'm getting ready to read the third part of this gigantic story, and all my beautiful comic boxes over here. But anyway, we're here to review the movie, and I'm not going to go into all the details that I did when I reviewed the Prisoner of Azkaban Ultimate Edition box, but to be brief, I was not a fan of what they had done to the boxes. They definitely were a little bit flimsy, and I understood that they were trying to make some ways to make this beautiful 3D effect work, but I just wasn't a fan of what they did, because I think that they really gave me a little lack of quality when it comes to putting these together. And I think one of the other things I didn't like was the box. This specific one got damaged in the corner, and that's just because of the flimsiness that when they get shipped, they will have these issues. But of course, we got a picture of the kids in the front on the cover, and we also have a couple of interesting additions like Professor Moody, played by Brendan Gleeson, and we've got the Hungarian Horntail in the corner, and of course we've got the Harry Potter Ultimate Edition logo in the upper left corner, and on the bottom we have Year 4, as well as what we are going to be getting in terms of the continuation of the Harry Potter documentary, which actually goes throughout this entire series of Ultimate Edition DVDs. And I was very excited for this one because it's all about the sound and music, and when we turn the box around, we basically get a taste of what we're going to be getting inside, which was always an exciting little present to open. And on the side, of course, we get on the binder the name of the film. We also get the big Year 4 and the little picture of Harry Potter in the diamond. So let's open this little fella up. And once again, we get the cover. Again, like I said about the third one, very flimsy. It used to have a magnetic seal with the first two, and I didn't like the fact that they got rid of that, and it just makes the contents a little bit looser. Not a big fan, but we still get the same thing, the diamond with Harry Potter, as well as the title and the year number, and on the back we get a nice picture of the Goblet of Fire. We always get a nice little diamond with a picture of something that is essential to the film in the box. So now let's open it up and take a look at all of the goodies that are inside, and as always, we get the beautiful splash on the front here. We've got the Goblet of Fire and all the kids waiting to see what Dumbledore is going to pick out of it, as well as a couple of additional things in the films, as well as one specific character that we were all very eager to see how they were going to do it in the movie. So when we pull out the contents, we of course get the DVD encasing, and it's pretty much the exact same thing as we got on the front cover. And another thing that I wasn't too thrilled about again is the fact that it's 3 discs once again, but it's still exciting. We again get the menu, we see what we're going to be getting in the special features with a little blurb, and of course more pictures, and the 3 DVDs that are included, which which is always great. So the movie, the special features, as well as the documentary. And the reason why I was very excited about this specific documentary is because they're talking about the music, and the fact that they go through various composers throughout the entire 8 films is always a very interesting thing, because we always like to see how the music is going to change and even mature as it moves on. And of course, the contents of the box, always the same in terms of the rest of the stuff. We get this little envelope package. Once again, not a big fan of what they did with it this time around. Very bulky and flimsy, but we still get what we always have gotten so far. And this time around, we have a digital copy code, as well as a little advertisement, but we are always very excited to see the cards that we get in this box. So, of course, we get cards 7 and 8, and they are Ron Weasley and Professor Alistair Mad-Eye Moody. And also, we get the booklet, which is always exciting because they always give us cool stuff. But this one's a very interesting one because of the fact that it's about creating the sound and the music. So we get a lot of stuff that is really music-oriented, as well as a lot of pictures that really where the music is essential, like the beginning, where we see the introduction to Harry Potter's main theme, which is Hedwig's theme, and we also get other interesting things over here when we are seeing Hermione revealed for the first time at the Yule Ball, and the beautiful music that they give us for the Yule Ball, as well as other interesting things like we got here, this beautiful picture of the boys and the Patel twins listening to the Weird Sisters play at the ball. Really a lot of cool stuff in which the music is very much essential, as well as a couple of teases to what's ahead in the next few movies. But again, all in all, it's an okay package in terms of the quality, but what you get is what you really want, and that, of course, is the movie. So let's find out what I thought about this movie. So for the film version of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, we get a new director in Mike Newell, as well as a new composer in Patrick Doyle. And one of the few things that I love about these two is that you can definitely see a little bit more maturity in the soundtrack, as well as maturity in the script, because one of the best parts about these Harry Potter films moving forward is that they really wanted the audience to know that we are not going to be holding back in terms of the crucial parts of this series, which means we can't give you guys PG films anymore. We have to kick it up a notch. So Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire was the first film in this series to be given a PG-13 rating, and rightfully so. The atmosphere is so much darker. The characters are much more mature. There's a lot more content that young kids are not ready for. And the same could be said about the book. But funny enough, when it comes to Harry Potter, it is hard for young kids who read the first 3 books not to move on, but they're definitely going to be in for some real heavy hits in the book as well as in this film. Once again, the Golden Trio returns and gives us a great performance, and one of the strongest parts about this film is the fact that after such a distance between Harry, Ron, and Hermione, we get a real unification once again, and the bonds of friendship are tightened. There are certain points where hostilities happen between the characters, but that's of course the same stuff that happens in the book. Real tests of friendship and very good acting to boot along with it. And of course the rest of the supporting cast returns, including Michael Gambon. We also get Alan Rickman again, Maggie Smith, Robbie Coltrane. So many favorite characters return, and of course they give us great performances. But we get new people in this film. We get Brendan Gleeson playing Mad-Eye Moody, and I personally felt that Sean Connery would have been the best Mad-Eye Moody, but Brendan Gleeson really gave me more than I anticipated, and I really did appreciate his performance. As Rita Skeeter, we have the deliciously fun Miranda Richardson. I love her. This is definitely one of my favorite roles that she has. I mean, I also love her role in Sleepy Hollow, my favorite Tim Burton movies, but she as Rita Skeeter was a perfect choice. But one of the interesting things about this film is that there are 2 actors a lot of us didn't necessarily know, and some of us who did, we were starting to get to know them a little bit better. The first one is the actor who plays Cedric Diggory. It's Robert Pattinson. And we didn't know who Robert Pattinson was yet. Twilight would be coming into theaters a few years later, but say what you will about Robert Pattinson, and I know that a lot of you are on bated breath when it comes to his new role as Batman, but as Cedric Diggory, I liked him in this movie. I thought that even though he didn't have a big role, I felt that he was very natural. I definitely appreciated his charisma. He definitely gave me a great representation of a book-to-screen adaptation of the best looking guy, the best academic guy, the one who has all the friends, the cool kid. He definitely encompasses that in the way that he looked and the way that he walked about the film, his body language, definitely a great choice. But I will say this, I am not a Doctor Who fan, and I didn't even realize that this was a specific actor until later on when I started watching other things and started to get to know the name of David Tennant. I didn't even realize when I first saw this movie that David Tennant was the character Barty Crouch Jr., and I loved David Tennant in this film. If you want to talk about a guy who really plays a slippery snake, that is totally David Tennant as Barty Crouch Jr. They also give him a little bit more screen time and a couple of interesting roles that are not actually in the book, but seeing David Tennant in a Harry Potter film, and especially rewatching the film so many times and then finding out who David Tennant was, loved the fact that he was in this movie. But of course, we have to talk about the actor that they chose to play the Dark Lord Voldemort. And the minute they announced that it was Ralph Fiennes, I was just saying to myself, of course. They couldn't have picked a better actor to play this character, and they also made a couple of very good changes to Voldemort, because when you take a look at his description in the book, he has blood red eyes, and in this film, he does not. As a matter of fact, his eye color is the exact same eye color as Harry Potter's, and I think that that adds so much to the character, makes him a little bit more human, and makes him a little bit more threatening because of the fact that he has so many more similarities to the boy who lived. But also the visual effect work that they did on him to remove his nose, to give him a snake-like tongue, it is practically flawless. And his acting, especially the scene in the graveyard with the Priori and Kintartum, which is probably the best scene in the whole movie, love it to death. What a great moment. You are really terrified of Voldemort because he is a very interesting, mysterious character in the pages of the first couple of books, and when you see him for the first time in the books in full form, you're definitely on edge, but in the films, when you actually see the visuals, you get so much more tense, you really get goosebumps, your hair is on end, you just are fearful of what he is in this film, because at some point he's very soft-spoken, and then he's furious on the swing of a dime, and it is beautiful. But of course, we have to discuss the elephant in the room, and that is the fact that so much of the book has been removed from the film. And I will be perfectly honest with you, that's actually not a bad thing at all, because in the film, we don't have Ludo Bagman. We don't have Hermione fighting with her cause of spew. We don't have a whole bunch of things that do add to the story, but really don't add to the main crux of the story, which is really Harry and the Triwizard Tournament. And the fact that the movie removes all of those extra pieces to this story, it doesn't take away from the main plot, because that's really the part that we're following. And of course, yes, there are a couple of additional changes, like the fact that Dobby doesn't give Harry the gillyweed, rather it's Neville, but that of course also makes so much more sense. And the fact that we don't get pieces of crucial scenes that are just more condensed and more straightforward, also very positive. And the other thing that a lot of people were upset about is the fact that Harry's time with Sirius is really cut down. We do get Gary Oldman in this film for just a brief moment, but it is honestly a good moment, and the rest of the film just moves along, and it doesn't really faze me. As a matter of fact, when it comes to the film, I like it more than I do the book, just because of the fact that it just doesn't feel so lengthy, because it's not a short movie. This movie is over 2 hours long, and the whole grandeur of this film is absolutely gorgeous. I love the Triwizard Tournament, the scene in the dragon fights, the scene in the Black Lake. Even the maze is changed to a certain degree. And the atmosphere that they replace with the creatures just makes it more intense, and you want to see these Triwizard champions get to the end of the maze and grab the Triwizard Cup. And of course, the one thing that makes me so happy is that they didn't hold back with the death scene. It was very important because Cedric does die practically in a flash, and they do the exact same thing in the film. But when his body is brought back to the Hogwarts grounds, the emotions just flow, and the score from Patrick Doyle just adds to that. There are tears. There's a beautiful speech from Dumbledore at the end. A last scene with the three kids basically saying, are we ever going to have a normal year at Hogwarts? And is everything going to change now? Let's just say that if you read the books before you saw the fourth film, you said the exact same thing that Harry says in the end of the film to Hermione, and that is, yes, it is going to change, and it's going to change for the better, and it only makes me excited to come back and sit down with you guys for a fifth time and review Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. But I am going to tell you guys, I don't know when that's going to be, because it's the biggest book in the series, and Jim Kay is going to be really hard at work putting this beautiful illustrated edition together for the fifth time, because at this point in time, all four of those books are beautiful, and yes, this movie is very much enjoyable. I really do enjoy the film adaptation, and I'm going to give Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire a very strong 3.5 stars out of 4. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments in the box below. You know I love to talk about Harry Potter, and I'm sure that if you guys are watching this, you do too. So I will see you in the next one, whenever that day may come. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.